Hello, everyone. Welcome to Read with Adini. I trust we are all doing great, and I trust we had a wonderful time on the last episode. Yes, on the last episode, we started a new chapter, and that is chapter 2. And the title of the chapter 2 we started last week, which we will be continuing on today's episode, is Self-Discipline and Character. Self-discipline and character. A quick recap: we talked about what character is, we talked about values and virtues, how important integrity is. Integrity is being true to yourself and true to others. We talk about the test of character. The test of your character is the choices you make when you're under pressure, when you are to pick between one or two things, and the test of a character is a proof of what you choose. And this actually shows who you are, what your mind is made of. And then we moved on to talk about how to develop your character. And we touched two things. Number one, how to teach your children values, and then studying the values you admire in people that you respect and admire. And as you study these values, you begin to think on them. And as you think on them, as you meditate on these values, it sinks deeper into your mind. And before you know it, you begin to exhibit these values and you begin to see the fruits of actually inculcating these values into your life, into your daily routine. So, in today's episode, we'll be moving on in this same chapter 2, self discipline and character. And don't forget, the title of this book is The Power of Self Discipline: No Excuses by Brian Tracy. So, let's move on. Emulate the people you most admire. Much of your character is determined by the people you most admire, both living and dead. Who are they? Looking over your life and history, make a list of the people whom you most admire, and next to their names, write out the virtues or values that they most represent to you. If you could spend an afternoon with anyone living or dead, what one person would you choose? Why would you choose that person? What would you talk about during your afternoon together? What questions would you ask? Or what would you want to learn? Consider this as well. Why would that person want to spend an afternoon with you? What are the values and virtues that you have developed that make you a valuable and interesting person? What makes you special? Practice the values you respect. Practice the values you respect. You develop values by practicing them whenever you're called for. As the Roman Stoic philosopher Epictetus said, circumstances do not make the man, they merely reveal him to himself. This is powerful and profound. Your circumstances don't make you, they actually show you the stuffs you're made of. They actually reveal who you are. See, who we are is not this mask or the way we act when we are around people or the way we behave in social gathering, the way we behave when we are with our friends. Sometimes we do all these things to just get along and feel among. But when we are alone, who we really are, our innermost self, is revealed by situations and circumstances. When a problem occurs, people tend to react automatically based on the highest values that they have developed up to that moment. We develop values by repetition, by behaving consistently with a particular value over and over again until it becomes a habit and locks in so that we come to practice it automatically. Men and women with highly developed characters behave in a manner consistent with their highest values, and they do so without thought or hesitation. They don't think about it, they don't think about it twice. There is no question in their minds about whether or not they are doing the right thing. The structure of personality. The psychology of character involves the three parts of your personality. Your personality is made up of three parts: your self ideal, your self image, and your self esteem. It's getting interesting, right? I love this. Your personality, the psychology of your character involves three parts of your personality. Number one, your self ideal, your self image, and your self esteem. Your self ideal. Your self ideal is that part of your mind composed of your values, your virtues, your ideas, your goals, your aspirations, and your idea of the very best person that you can possibly be. We all have this self ideal. I want to be a truthful person. I want to be a principled person. I want to be a friendly person. I want to be a person that stands on the truth. I want to be an advocate for the less privileged. I want to be a just person. So, in other words, your self ideal is composed of those values that you most admire in others and most aspire to possess in yourself. The most important part of your self ideal is summarized in the word clarity. Superior people are those who are absolutely clear about who they are and what they believe. They have complete clarity about the values they believe in and what they stand for. They are not confused or indecisive. They are firm and resolute when it comes to any decision in which a value is involved. On the other hand, weak and irresolute people are fuzzy and unclear about their values. They have only a vague notion of what is right or wrong in any situation. As a result, they take the path of least resistance and act expeditiously. They do whatever seems to be the fastest and easiest thing to get what they want in the short term, giving little to no consideration or concern about the consequences of their actions. The evolution of character. In biology, life forms are categorized from the least to the most complex, from single-celled plankton all the way to the increasingly complex spectrum of life to the human being. Similarly, human beings can be organized along a spectrum as well, from the least to the most developed. The lowest form of humans are those with no values, no virtues, no character. These people always act expediently and take the path of least resistance in their search for immediate gratification. At the highest levels of development of the human race, however, are those men and women of complete integrity who would never compromise their honesty or their character for anything, including the threat of financial loss, pain, or even death. George Washington is famous for his honesty, which was demonstrated in the story in which he admitted that he had cut down the cherry tree. In the same vein, the founding fathers of the United States wrote, "We hereby pledge our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor to the signing of the Declaration of Independence." In his book, Trust, the Social Virtues and the Creation of Prosperity, philosopher Francis Fukuyama observed that society worldwide can be divided into two kinds: high trust and low trust. High trust and low trust. He also argues that the highest trust societies, those in which integrity is most admired, encouraged, and respected, are also the most law abiding, free, and prosperous. Can we say so of our own society? At the other end of the societal spectrum, however, are those societies characterized by tyranny, thievery, dishonesty, and corruption. Each of these are, without exception, both undemocratic and poor. Trust is the key. Trust is the lubricant of human relationships. Where there is high trust among and between people, economic activity flourishes and there are opportunities for all. On the other hand, where there is low trust, economic resources are squandered in an attempt to protect against thievery and corruption, or these resources are not available at all. In the United States, we have the Constitution and Bill of Rights. These documents lay out the rules by which Americans agree to live. They create the structure of our government and guarantee our rights. But they assume that our elected representatives will be men and women of honor, committed to protecting and defending those rights. They attempt to assure that only men and women of character can thrive and prosper over the long term in our economic, political, and social system. They aim to assure that in most cases, only men and women of character can rise to high positions in society. Okay, although our system is not perfect and people of questionable character occasionally rise to positions of prominence, it is seldom for very long. The basic demand of Americans for honesty and integrity eventually leads to the exposure and censure of dishonest people. I hope we come to a place in my own society where we can demand for honesty and integrity. The demand for men and women of character continues unabated. Your self-image, your self-image, that is your inner mirror. The second part of your personality, like we listed earlier, is your self-image. This is the way we see and think about ourselves, especially prior to any event of importance. People always tend to behave on the outside consistently with the way they see themselves on the inside. This is often called our inner mirror, into which we peer before we engage in any behavior. When you see yourself as calm, positive, truthful, and possessed of high character, you behave with greater strength and personal power. Other people respect you more. You feel in control of yourself and the situation. What's more, whenever you actually behave in a manner that is consistent with your highest values, your self-image improves. You see and think about yourself in a better light. You feel happier and more confident. Your behavior and outward performance then reflect this increasingly improving inner picture you have of yourself as the very best person you can possibly be. People tend to accept you at your own evaluation of yourself, at least initially. If you see and think of yourself as an excellent person who is possessed of high character, you will treat other people with courtesy, grace, and respect. You cannot say you are a person of excellent virtue, excellent character, and you are so rude, you're so disrespectful, you don't even think before talking, you just open your mouth and say whatever jumps into your mouth. You treat people with disdain, you think you're better than everybody, you're not cautious, you're not respectful, you're not graceful. No, you're not a person of character. In turn, they will likewise treat you as a person of honor and character if you treat other people with courtesy, grace, and respect. The third one, your self-esteem. How much you like yourself, that is your self-esteem. The third part of your personality is your self-esteem. We can equate self-esteem to something similar, self-love. Self-love. Now, this is how you feel about yourself, your emotional core. Your self-esteem is defined as how much you like yourself. And it's more than only this. The more you see yourself as a valuable and important person, the more positive and optimistic you will be. When you see that you're important, when you see yourself as something, as someone important, when you see yourself as someone valuable, you begin to see that, oh, there's a good opportunity coming for me. You begin to speak positive things about yourself. You begin to surround yourself with positive energy. You think of your future and you think of the best. You look at your situation and you think the best. You are always optimistic. When you truly consider yourself to be important and worthwhile, you will treat other people as if they are important as well. Your self-esteem is largely determined by how consistent your self-image is, which shapes your personal behavior. Is with your, you see how your self-esteem is consistent with your self-image, which shapes your personal behavior, is with your self-ideal or your vision of the very best person you can possibly be. Whenever you act consistently with who you consider an excellent person to be, your self-image improves and your self-esteem increases. You like and respect yourself more. You feel happy about yourself and others. The more you like yourself, the more you like others, and the more they like you in return. By acting with character and in harmony with your highest values, you put your entire life into an upward spiral. In every area of your life, things will get better and better for you. Your role models have a tremendous impact on shaping your character. The more you admire a person and his or her qualities, the more you strive, both consciously and unconsciously, to become like that person. This is why clarity is so important. Always behave consistently. Whenever you act in a way that is consistent with your values, you feel good about yourself. Whenever you compromise your values for any reason, you feel bad about yourself. This also means that when you compromise your values, your self-confidence and self-esteem go down. You feel uneasy and inferior, inadequate and uncomfortable. When you compromise your values, deep down inside, you feel that something is fundamentally wrong. Almost all human problems can be solved by a return to your highest values and your innermost convictions. When you look back, there have probably been situations in your life when you have compromised your values in order to save an investment, keep a job, preserve a relationship, or maintain a friendship. In each case, you have felt worse and worse until you finally broke it off and walked away. And this is very true. And how did you feel when you finally had the strength of character to walk away? You felt wonderful. Whenever you use your willpower and strength of character to return to the values that are most dear to you, you are rewarded with a wonderful feeling of happiness and exhalation. You feel energized and free. You wonder why you didn't make that decision a long time ago. So do the right thing. Do the right thing. In the development of character that is based on self-discipline and willpower, long-term thinking is essential. The more you think about the long-term consequences of your behavior, the more likely it is that you will do the right thing in the short term. So, when you have to make a choice or decision, always ask the magic question: what's important here? Practice the universal maxim of Immanuel Kant. Resolve to behave as though your every act were to become a universal law for all people. Hmm. Resolve to behave as though your every act were to become a universal law for all people. One of the great questions for the development of character is this: what kind of a world would this world be if everyone in it was just like me? Whenever you sleep, whenever you do or say something that is inconsistent with your highest values, immediately get back on your horse. Say to yourself, this is not like me. Say, not me. This is not me. And resolve that next time you will do better. What you dwell upon grows. If you are in a situation today in which you are not living up to your highest values, make a decision this very minute to confront the situation and straighten it out. The minute you do, you will once again feel happy and back in control. There is an old Indian story. On my shoulders are two wolves. One is a black wolf, evil, who continually tempts me to do and say the wrong things. On the other shoulder is a white wolf that continually encourages me to live up to my very best. A listener asked the old man, which of these wolves has the greatest power over you? And the old man replied, the one I feed. So what you feed grows. What you dwell on grows. What you meditate on grows. What you think on grows. By the law of concentration, whatever you dwell on grows and increases in your life. If you dwell on positive things will begin to happen for you. When you dwell on being optimistic, you're so optimistic, you're so hopeful, opportunities begin to come your way. You begin because there's a saying that says that opportunities must meet preparation. And how do you prepare? You dwell on positive things. You think on good things. You dwell on good virtues. You dwell on good values. So when you think and talk about the virtues and values that you most admire and respect, you therefore program those values deeper and deeper into your subconscious until they begin to operate automatically in every situation. So, whenever you exercise your self discipline and willpower to live your life consistently with those values that you most aspire to be known for, you begin to move rapidly along the path to becoming an excellent person. Wow, wow, wow. I had a very good time here. And I'm so glad we've come to the end of chapter 2 on today's episode. Now, before we go, there are some exercises. So you're taking out a sheet of paper and write out your answers on these questions. So these questions, number 1, name 3 people living or dead who you most admire and describe one quality of each of them that you respect. Number 2, determine the most important virtue or quality in your life that you strive the most to practice or emulate. Number 3, identify those situations in which you feel the most confident, in which you feel like the very best person you could possibly be. Number 4, what situations give you your greatest feelings of self-esteem and personal worth? Number 5, if you were already an excellent person in every respect, how would you have differently behaved from today onward? And how will you behave differently from today onward? Number 6, what one quality would you like people to think of when your name is mentioned? And what could you do to ensure this happens? I think I like this question 6. And the last question, number 7, in what one area do you need to be more truthful and practice higher levels of integrity than you do today? Wow, wow, wow. We've come to the end of today's episode. Chapter 2 was awesome. Self-discipline and character. Oh wow, I had a wonderful time. And please, and please, and please don't let us forget one thing. Let's answer this question. Let's do these exercises. Let's comment, share, and like and subscribe to Read with Haduni. I had a wonderful time reading chapter 2. Wow. I had a wonderful time reading chapter 2. Self-discipline and character. And I already highlighted a whole lot of things I want to work on. Like that question 7. In what one area do you need to be more truthful and practice higher levels of integrity? And number 6, what one quality would you like people to think of when your name is mentioned? Thank you so much, my awesome listeners. Thank you for coming to another episode of Read with Haduni. I'm so happy to always have you on this show. And I know that we've been able to learn one or two things. In fact, I know it's more than two things on this episode and on our just concluded chapter 2, self-discipline and character. And I know that from today onward, we'll strive to be men and women of character, good values, good virtues, so that greater things will be spoken of us and will be men and women of great influence in every area of ourselves, in every area of our lives rather, and wherever we find ourselves. Thank you so much. Make sure you take care of yourself, stay hydrated, eat your fruits, get some rest, and have a wonderful time. Until I come your way on the next episode of Read with Hardini, take care and stay blessed. Bye.